Have you ever wondered how your sales performance compares against your competitors and peers? The B2B Sales Benchmark Report provides the definitive guide to what success looks like in 2021. See how you compare in terms of win rate, sales cycle, average deal value, relationships, and engagement. You can see the results and get the full report at ebster.com/B2B-sales-benchmarks. This is Sales Ops Demystified, the #1 most downloaded podcast in sales operations. We invite the brightest minds in sales operations onto the show to deconstruct the why, what, and how behind rep productivity, forecasting, metrics, and all things revenue. This podcast is brought to you by Ebster, the leading customer engagement platform for Salesforce. Hello and welcome to another very special episode of the Sales Ops Demystified podcast. Today we're joined by Dale Reineke, who is currently the VP of Sales Operational Excellence, hopefully I got that right, at Emerson. Now, Dale has significant experience in sales and sales management. I think we're looking at about 16 years pre-moving in to the operational side or the sales ops side. And so that's what I'm looking forward to getting Dale's opinion on in this episode. So, Dale, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken. Looking forward to it.
And so, first question. Extensive experience in sales and sales operations. What kind of drove you towards moving into the operational side?
Yeah, so first, just to clarify, I am no longer employed at Emerson. I'm looking for a new opportunity, but my last role was as the Vice President of Sales Operational Excellence. So I just want to be clear on that point. But I started my career as a customer-facing, originally as a field service engineer, and then got into a successful bag-carrying sales role, and just continued to move up through the organization. I then became a manager of direct salespeople and was responsible for hiring, training, developing salespeople, and that led into a promotion where I was responsible for sales managers. So then I had area managers, regional managers, and I managed about $500,000 worth of sales business for multiple business units while I was at Emerson. And kind of backed into the sales operational role. We needed somebody to step in and continue to drive sales excellence, and I was asked to participate in trying to find somebody, and after a while, I just pretty much said, "I'm your guy. I think I can do this. Let me take a run at it." And then I became the Vice President of Sales Operational Excellence for the North America organization that Emerson has. That was about $6 billion of sales. Across multiple businesses, multiple go-to-market strategies. And my role, I think, was fairly broad when it comes to what sales operations is about. It wasn't just driving CRM and developing strategies and territories. That had everything to do with working with HR in terms of talent acquisition. I had a learning and development group that was part of my team, and we worked very closely with account management and our projects team. So very broad sales operational responsibilities in that role that I had at Emerson.
Awesome, and apologies for getting the current role wrong. I have a quick question about the back history. At what point during the selling career did you lose your own quota and were therefore focused the majority of the time on the people you were managing?
When I became a regional manager, I had a regional quota that I divided up among salespeople. And then as I became an area vice president, it was a bigger quota that had to get divvied up. Once I stepped into the operational excellence role, my compensation, my bonus was no longer based on, how North America did, at least not specifically. So that would be the first time that I really, over my whole career, didn't have a particular number that I was trying to hit.
Awesome. And now going back to the time at Emerson, how many sales reps were you impacting in that role of the sales operational excellence?
Wow, my role was a North America focused role with the responsibility of working with the other world areas and driving a global standard across all the world areas for processes, technology, sales methodology. And we had over, I'm not sure we ever knew the exact number, but, several thousand salespeople. Certainly in North America, we had more than 1,000 salespeople, customer-facing people from the various go-to-market channels, whether it was direct salespeople, employees of Emerson, working for our loyal business partners, or, just general distributors.
And how many people were there in your central team that were tasked with making these people more productive?
It was a relatively small team. We had a group of people focused on CRM and some of the digital tools that we were using to try to, internally transform our sales organization. We had a learning and development group that was just a very small group. We worked very closely with the HR organization in terms of developing sales personas and looking at compensation plans, things like that, but they were really not part of my direct team. So a relatively small group of people, 5 or 6 people total.
Got it. Can you share those digital tools that you mentioned that you were using to help boost productivity?
Yeah, so, Emerson is very much an Oracle house. They use Oracle for their ERP system, and we were in the process of moving from Oracle CRM on Demand to Sales Cloud by Oracle for our CRM platform. We worked very closely with the marketing side to make sure from a leads and opportunities standpoint, Eloqua was very tightly integrated with Sales Cloud. Our sales methodology was developed working with Sales Performance International, SPI, using their solution selling methodology. And we developed some internal sales tools that integrated with Sales Cloud as well to help make sure that salespeople could move projects and pieces of business through the various sales stages.
Got it. And was there one specific thing that you can remember that really had an impact on how much the reps were able to sell? So something that your central team implemented?
We have a long history with Emerson had a long history with solution selling and SPI, but when I came on, we really wanted to reinvigorate the sales force, and we went through a process of through some remote training, some online training, and face-to-face workshops, trained well over 2,000 or 3,000 salespeople. And I think it's really important. One of the things that I've learned is you have to have a sales methodology. You have to have a process. It creates a common language. It creates the way you communicate. It helps to bring people up to speed faster when you're going through an onboarding process. So I would say driving a consistent global sales methodology was one of the things that will have a huge productivity impact on the entire selling organization.
And just for the benefit of the audience, can you briefly summarize the whole solution selling methodology that you guys trained in?
Yeah, SPI, they're a great partner of Emerson's. Their solution selling process looks at the customer's buying behaviors, which obviously in the last 2 years has dramatically changed and is continuing to transition. Typically customers now do a lot of research online. They understand what they want to buy even before they reach out to salespeople. So it's critical that salespeople understand how to have an impact right away. But solution selling tries to line up your buying processes with the customer's buying behaviors. And so, the challenge as a seller is to identify where your customer is at in the buying process, align with them and understand their pain. Make sure you're at the right level of, the formula that SBI uses is pain, power, value, vision, control, and collaboration. So you're working through various stages with your clients to understand what their issues are, make sure you're at the power that can make decisions, and then help make sure your products, your solutions fit their vision, or if need be, try to re-engineer their vision if you think you have a better fit.
Cool. I assume during your time there, you probably did some work on the forecasting process. Could you share roughly what that process was and any changes you made, if any, that improved accuracy?
I mean, forecast is near and dear to my heart, that's for sure. I mean, as a sales manager, we had to do forecasts for a very long time and, got beat up beside the head if we weren't doing a good job. And when we were doing well, it was, things were good. I think one thing that's interesting from my perspective, forecasting is a very easy and simple process when you're in a stable environment. When you can understand what your MRO typically is and you can look at data to help you figure it out, forecasting can be, a pretty simple process. The problem is when things start to move around, which we're in a, very interesting place right now. When things are going down and you don't know how fast they're going down, or when things start to come back and you don't know how fast they're coming back, forecasting your business is way more important, but it's very hard to do. I think the forecasting experience that I'm familiar with starts with looking at your historical business and how much growth the corporation expects to get. Usually you want to grow faster than the market, so you're taking market share. And it starts at a real high, top-down sort of level. But when it gets to a month-to-month or a quarterly forecast, you got to dig in with the salespeople and help them understand how their business is moving. And again, the sales methodology is about moving projects and pieces of business through the sales pipeline. You have to, as a sales manager, the best thing you can do is move those projects and pieces of business as fast as you can through the pipeline that the salesperson's managing. So, rolling up from the bottom up, that monthly, quarterly forecast is really important to help the business, the higher level business, make the right decisions. It's got to be extremely difficult right now for many organizations to try to figure out what that looks like. When you got projects that are being delayed, put on hold, you've got certain businesses that because of the COVID-19 epidemic are having great opportunities to grow as fast as they possibly can. But how do you hire? How do you train people? How do you bring them up to speed when you can't bring them face to face and even do interviews sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that's the biggest impact the virus is having on sales right now? The inability to meet face to face with clients, but also to meet face to face with your team to onboard and train? Or do you think there's some other hidden effect that is hindering the ability to sell?
I do think that we were in the process of, because our clients' buying behaviors were changing, that the sales, the transformation of sales was taking place prior to all this. I think this is accelerating that. Salespeople, outside salespeople, customer-facing salespeople, I'm sure are gaining a big appreciation for what their inside counterparts have been doing, because the outside selling job today is a lot more like an inside selling job, where you've got to be able to communicate effectively through a Zoom meeting. You've got to be able to bring in experts and subject matter experts as part of a virtual meeting. So I think it's a big challenge to onboard people. Typically in my experience, onboarding means you take them to the factory and you sit them down and give them some product training. Well, those things are a lot harder to do today. So how do you do it more remotely? How do you do it online? How do you do self-paced? And how do you train salespeople to effectively conduct a sales call remotely? Is, I think, a new skill that is a very important one.
Sure. Moving on to sales metrics, if you could only measure one more sales metric for the rest of your career, which would you choose?
Wow, that's a great question. I probably won't be able to give you one. Because I think as a selling organization, you ultimately have to prove your ROI, your return on investment, to your upper management, to the shareholders and the investors of the corporation. But my experience tells me to effectively measure sales performance, you have to look at how you can measure the behaviors that you're trying to drive. You're trying to drive more customer engagement, higher level customer engagement. You want to make sure that your sales managers are doing effective coaching sessions. So I'm a believer that you have to look at those individual measurements of, how many times are your coaches, your sales managers coaching their salespeople? How many times are they doing opportunity reviews with their salespeople? You can look at CRM in terms of number of opportunities, dollars of opportunities, and things like that. But really, again, you got to try to look at how do you move stuff through the sales pipeline. And you got to go back and look at those individual behaviors that you're trying to drive. And, ultimately they hopefully prove to the organization that you're increasing sales productivity, you're bringing the cost of sales down, those bigger, higher, more important measures that our executives want to look at. But it's got to start with those baseline behaviors.
And then final question, who in the world of sales operations has influenced you the most? My career started from the ground up, customer-facing jobs. So I think over the years, I've had the pleasure to work with a lot of progressive salespeople that use digital tools, 15, 20 years ago to try to understand their business, get their arms around who their customers were, do some customer segmentation. One of my sales peers, Jeff Greenland, is a guy that I would mention. And then I've also had lots of great managers over the years that coached me. Steve Kins, Randy Schrader, John Gardner's another guy. And I got to give a lot of kudos to SPI, Sales Performance International. They worked very closely with Emerson to help us set directions, understand where we want to go. And their team they got some great people. Keith Eads was the founder of Solution Selling. He's, I think, since retired from SPI, but he's a pretty sharp guy. Amazing. Many, many influences. I definitely am going to look into SPI more and Solution Selling. Maybe we can even get someone from there on the show. Awesome. Dale, so here are the three things that I picked out. We look for one quote from the episode, and I think the quote here is going to be the importance of having a consistent sales methodology. I think if a sales organization doesn't have that, there's probably a lot of benefits, a lot of efficiencies in onboarding, for example, that you can gain from that. Your quite simple point about how the sales operation, so sales reps and management, need to justify their expense to the business, right? And so a large part of metrics are proving that you are worth the money that they're spending on commission and salaries. And then finally, I think it's the first time we've had such internal performance metrics given for that question. such as, and not just focused on the rep activities, but focused on the manager activities, which is super interesting, right? And so if these sales managers are doing these things, then in theory, revenue down the line is going to increase.
I think when you talk about onboarding and things like that, my opinion, the role of the frontline sales managers is so important to developing salespeople, to helping them move stuff through their pipeline. Frontline sales managers are a critical part of the organization, and you can't put enough time and focus in developing that layer of your sales management.
Sure. Dale, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, please let me know if I can be of any other help.
Yeah, so we'll definitely link below to your LinkedIn profile if someone is looking for some of your capabilities. Dale, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Sales Ops Demystified podcast. If you are listening on a podcast listening application, then please subscribe, rate, and review. And if you have any questions about the show, if you know a guest, or if you have any questions about sales operations, just hit me up at tomhunt@ebster.com. That's tomhunt@ebster.com.